I saved a girl who was being forced on the train. But a week later, she turned around and accused me, saying that I was the one who forced her. I was taken away by the police and lost my qualification to enter the police academy. I was also photographed and posted online. And even me martyr father was insulted. Under relentless coercion and with no other choice, my mother left a suicide note and rammed her head into my father's grave, killing herself. With insufficient evidence, I was acquitted and released, but my family had been destroyed, and I had nowhere left to go. I found the girl and asked her why she had falsely accused me. She said, "He's the heir of the Beijing elite." At the time, it was just a moment of amusement. He likes me, and I won't have to worry about food and clothing in the future. You're blocking my future. Don't you think that's wicked? After saying that, the heir of the Beijing elite circle pulled her into his arms. So what if you're a prospective police academy student? You still ended up as a dog at me feet. His men swarmed up and I instantly lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I saved her. This time, I chosido turn a blind eye. Get lost. Who are you? This is a train. If you keep tease up, I'm calling the conductor. The bed was shaking. I woke up groggily and Phoebe's frame above my head was trembling wildly. In the window opposite me, a chaotic scene was reflected. A man had one foot on the bed rail and was grabbing a girl in the darkness. It was stimulating people's nerves. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead and I closed my eyes to recall the scene just now. I pinched my thigh hard with my hand under the blanket. It hurt. I actually got reborn. Reborn at the starting point of everything in my past life. Everything that happened on the train kept flooding through my mind. I was a prospective police academy student on my way to report to school, facing the criminal driven by a surge of hot-blooded courage. I leaped up onto the upper bunk and kicked him down with one kick. The man was kicked to the ground by me and howled in pain. He quickly realized the crime had been exposed and vanished into the night. Meanwhile, she was trembling all over, but still got up and thanked him. A sense of honor welled up in me, and I told her to notify the train police. Catching the criminal was the best way to protect herself. He also told her the suspect's distinguishing features. After I enrolled, I told my classmates about this matter. Everyone said I was a qualified police academy student, and my dorm even held an honor party for me. But I never expected that this time justice would bring my family ruin and death. A week later, while I was in class, she suddenly burst through the door and shouted in a breakdown that I had assaulted her. She also said that after someone rescued her, I secretly followed her and threatened that if she told the train police, I would post her indecent photos online. Crying hysterically, she said she had been forced into it, and that she was only now gathering the courage to speak up in order to prevent others from being harmed. She pointed at me and cursed me out. "You beast. Assaulting me once wasn't enough. You still want to threaten me into submission." I stood there frozen like a wooden stake. He was taken away and detained on the spot. My proud roommates were cursed out like dogs, and the classmates at school, unable to hold back their anger, posted this video online. Police academy student forces a girl on a train under the double buff. I ended up becoming a habitual offender. Rumors spread that he had been secretly taking photos under girls' skirts since I was little, and the witnesses came forward to speak out. My dad was also exposed, with people claiming he hadn't really died in the line of duty at all, had just faked his death to get the compensation. The situation escalated too quickly, and the school could only move as fast as possible to cut ties with me, expelling me to preserve its reputation. My years of hard study were wasted. Andy became a rat crossing the street, loathed and shouted at by everyone. Mom believed I had never done such a thing, but she had no power or influence, and no way to find evidence. All she could do was leave behind a suicide note and crash to her death in front of my dad's grave, with a martyr's family member having committed suicide, and a martyr having been insulted. This matter finally began to be taken seriously. The task force was established, and the best legal team came to see me. In the end, they successfully helped me clear my name, but my mother would never come back to life, and my future was gone, too. Even if it was announced that I was innocent, No one believed it. They thought it was me supposedly dead father who had worked behind the scenes. I wore a mask to hide me face while delivering dishes at the hotel. I never expected that day to bet his girl's wedding. In the photo, she was smiling brightly, arm in arm with a man, and her groom was the middle-aged man who had threatened her. Unwilling to accept it, I stormed into her makeup room and asked her why she had falsely accused me. She looked at me with an innocent expression, as if she had never remembered that I existed. In the end, after my repeated reminders, she finally remembered, shareled her eyes and said impatiently, "He's the crown prince of the Beijing elite circle. At the time, it was just a passing fling. He likes me, so I won't have to worry about food or clothing in the future. Don't you think it's immoral of you to block my future?" After saying that, the heir to the Beijing elite suddenly appeared, wrapped an arm around her, and looked at me with a cold laugh. "So, what if you're a Pre-Enroledpolis Academy student? Aren't you still just a dog at my feet?" His men swarmed in, and I instantly lost consciousness. So, in other people's eyes, my sense of justice is actually being immoral. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the train. I opened my eyes, but in the end I chose to close them again, casually picking up Meyer plugs and putting them in. I couldn't hear the increasingly loud cries for help at all. After all, she liked it, didn't she? In the pale light of early morning, shadows of people flickered before my eyes. The conductor shook me awake. Sir, did you hear any noises last night?" I took the earplugs out of Myers and asked, "What did you say?" Seeing this, the flight attendant shook her head helplessly and walked away. In my previous life, I asked her to go find the train police, but she refused, and even said I was threatening her and wouldn't let her go. In this life, I wasn't going to go out of my way to help her. I arrived safely at school. I rushed into the dormitory impatiently. This was, besides my mom, the person who believed in me the most at the time. They collected evidence for me, helped me move around from place to place, and after I was released, helped introduce me to a job. What's wrong? Has the silly girl come? We have a dorm group chat, although we hadn't met in person back then. My name was Huang Beinu, and they gave me the nickname Beinu. In my previous life, I would still have fought back, but now I only felt a sour ache at the corners of me mouth and couldn't say a word. All right, we're starting military training tomorrow. Stop spacing out here and go pack your things." The dorm leader was still the warm old maid, and she liked to nag endlessly. To get through the week safely, I had thought that in this life, I would make it to graduation without incident and never have anything to do with her again. But I was still too naive. Just like in my previous life, I was in class when she suddenly shoved the door open and burst in, standing in front of me and breaking down in tears. "You beast. It wasn't enough for you to violate me once. You still want to force me to submit. Me. It's not that I want to attack her, but don't you even look at what you look like. Be assaulting you." I muttered to myself. The two of us are just in a top and bottom bunk relationship with our clothes on. There were so many people on the train. Why ice it just because I was closest to you that you've latched onto me? I looked at her innocently. "Hello, who are you? Have you met?" "You're lying. You assaulted me on the train, and you think you can get away just because I didn't recognize you. I won't let any other girls be hurt like I was." Herodias' indignant look almost moved me. Too. The classmates around us all pulled out their phones and started recording. I ignored her and kept writing my notes. Seeing that, she slapped me across the face and grabbed me by the collar, yanking me to my feet. I felt utterly baffled, and I could no longer hold back my anger. An elbow strike made her let go, and another kick sent her sprawling to the ground. She froze, lying on the ground without moving for a moment. I walked closer step by step and warned her. "I've already made it very clear. I've never even seen you before, and you slapped me as soon as you came up. Thesis just self-defense." I deliberately held back some force, enough to make her hurt without injuring her badly and pin it on me. Of course, I knew her, but that was from a previous life. In his life, I was simply speaking the truth. Jiang Ning lay on the ground and began to wail. "Help! A police academy student is beating people. You ruined my innocence and even punched and kicked me. Are you deliberately trying to divert attention? Is this what a cadet cop is like? Is this the standard of the People's Palace? Well, what if that's the case? I request the organization to investigate Jiang Benya's police qualifications. We absolutely cannot let someone like that hold power. She roared as she grabbed the hem of my pants, looking nothing like someone who had been beaten. Instead, she was extremely excited. I shook off her hand. What are you talking about? Are you delusional? You see a man and start saying he ruined your innocence. Do you want me to call an ambulance for you? I took out my phone and dialed 120. She immediately jumped up and slapped my phone out of my hand. Jiang Benya, what are you pretending for? Even if I'll make sure you're brought to justice. She rushed toward me with her hair disheveled. I dodged to the side. Bring me to justice. What are you talking about? From start to finish. I've never understood why you came after him. You'd better go see a doctor first. It's really laughable, calling me a pretender and acting like Yuri fighting tooth and nail. No one pretends better than you do, right? Once you learn the identity of the person who forced you, you immediately found a scapegoat for him. In that train carriage, there were only she and I. I didn't even need to think about it. He was smoothly targeted by them. You, on the other hand, lived in wealth and luxury, while my mother died in humiliation. My father was originally a hero who saved lives, devoting everything he had to the country without reservation. And in the end, he died protecting the public. Yet, because of people like that, it gets covered in dust. I wouldn't sympathize with her at all. People like that are ungrateful. They'd only ruin the future of innocent people for their own selfish desires. The news spread like the wind, and soon the school director came. She walked in briskly and immediately took control of John Ning and me. This is a school. What does it look like to be fighting like this? In my previous life, the dean was also the first to arrive. I anxiously explained everything to her, but she immediately punished me. She said John Ning was a weak woman and would definitely not lie. So I must have done something bad to make her break down. It was her favoritism towards John Ning that made the injustice done to me even more complete. When what she said was posted online, the netizens believed it all, and even the school director said it was my fault. So that must have been the case. All of my explanations turned into excuses. She even quickly expelled me and drove me out of the school. By the time the school found out, I had already disappeared without a trace. Thinking back to my past life, I was filled with rage at everything this director had done. The next second, I heard her say, John Benia, did you bully that girl? Look at you. She even came to the school. I knew you men couldn't bet rusted. You don't even recognize people after you've pulled up your pants. John Ning stood behind the director, raising her eyebrows smugly. The director grabbed my ear and yanked me over. Come here to my office. John Ning immediately chimed in. Your director is the one being reasonable. Go to the office right now and explain everything clearly. Once I went there, I never came back. The director would immediately drive me away. It seemed like they had already agreed on it. Come to think of it carefully, our class counselor didn't come in my previous life. Instead, it was the department head who came. Isn't that very strange? I couldn't help but suspect that this department head was colluding with the Beijing Circle's crown prince behind John Ning. My roommates immediately gathered around. Director, we're his roommates. We're also responsible for this matter. So let's go together. The dorm head is very meticulous. He noticed that something was off with my expression and came up with an excuse. It gave me a bitter smile inwardly. But he didn't know that the crown prince of Beijing's elite circles wielded immense power. If they went too, then the whole dorm would never come back alive. At that thought, I had no choice but to confront the director, to do anything wrong. The director came at me without distinguishing right from wrong and just started blaming me. What about my innocence? She can have innocence, but I can't. Or had you already colluded, just waiting for me to walk into the trap? If I leave now, won't I never be able to come back? In front of everyone, my gaze swept over one phone camera after another, making sure it was all recorded. The director, guilty, let go of my ear, but still tried to be unreasonable. You're not going. then just wait to be dealt with. She threw down her threat and left with John Ning. This matter has temporarily passed. Just when I thought they had no evidence and were powerless against me. On the second night, the police appeared. This time, they did not come in public, but broke into the dormitory and tried to take me away directly. The director took the lead. She stepped forward and said, "John Ning, look, isn't it him?" She had her nose in the air, like an angel of justice. I stared at the police officer who had introduced himself. These two people didn't look like police at all. There was no trace of uprightness in the way they walked, and there weren't even any insignias on their bodies, or a coat, and with handcuffs dangling carelessly in his hand, came to arrest me. I nudged the dorm head, signaling him to call the police right away. John Ning was sobbing as he trembled and pointed at me. "It's him. I went to see him yesterday, but he denied it back then. I originally wanted to go find the train conductor, but he said he had taken my photos. If I didn't obey, he would post them online. I don't want to leave anymore." Wah wah. The entire dorm building was lit up, and the people who had gathered around watched her cry with tears streaming down her face. Police academy students were naturally full of passion. If I hadn't run into John Ning in my past life, maybe I would have been one of these people. 2. Being made a complete fool-off. Someone standing in the crowd shouted at me, "John Binya, are you a Vina man? You don't even dare admit what you've done." What a thing to say. Anyone who didn't know better would think he had been there in person. I pushed aside the roommate blocking my way and stepped forward on my own. "You say I did it. So I it. We're police academy students. Someday we may become police officers." I sneered and pointed at Jiang Ning. Just because of a few words from her and a few tears, you can decide she's the victim. Then who knows how many people will be wrongly accused because of tears and be killed by you with just a few sentences. I stunned everyone into silence. Police academy students are full of passion. Once they got to college, everyone was introduced to criminal investigation Oswell. Once they calmed down a little, they could sense that something was off. I already heard someone whispering, "Yeah. When we handle cases, we have to rely on evidence. You can't convict someone based on just a few words." As soon as Jiang Ning heard that, he got anxious. The director roared, "Shut up." He even had 2 police officers restrain me and pin me against the door for every Anito see. "Director, are you sure you want to do this? I've already called the police," I said coldly, looking at them with a sneer. As soon as Jiang Ning heard that I had called the police, she stared at me inshok. "You called the police? Aren't you just a thief crying thief? There are police here. When everyone gets here, let's see, where are you running to?" The director's face darkened. She knew these 2 were nothing but paper tigers who had been called in. All show and no substance. Jiang Ning clearly valued her own innocence, and even though she didn't know me, she still ran all the way to the school to look for someone. But when she said to call the police, she called the police without the slightest fear of her reputation being ruined. Those who don't know her think she's brave, but I, who know her, only feel disgusted. The director snatched my phone away and said, "Unlock it. You're wasting police resources. You're not qualified to be a police academy student." She panicked. I wouldn't be foolish enough to unlock it. Even if I did, they still wouldn't find any record of me calling the police. Just as the argument reached an impasse, the sound of a police car rang out. Ironically, the police academy was actually handling this with a report to the police. Looking at the stern-faced man in police uniform, I knew I had guessed right. The person who came was my dad's comrade in arms. When I asked the dorm head to call the police, I deliberately had him say my name out loud. My dad sacrificed his life while saving someone. By the time his teammates arrived, he was still glaring with his eyes wide open, holding the criminal tightly in his arms. By then, his heart had already stopped beating. It was because of my dad's identity in my previous life that the special task force came to investigate. In this life, I have to make use of it and get them involved from the very beginning. "Who is Zhuang Benya?" My roommates all stepped aside, exposing me. I was being pinned against the door, unable to move, my face flushed red from holding my breath. "What are you doing?" "Using excessive force." I knew the person who spoke. It was my father's apprentice, Guanku. He used his hand like a knife and deftly knocked the two men aside. And only then was I able to break free. Zhuang Ning was done with it. She spread her arms to shield the two of them. This is assaulting a police officer. You must be actors hired by Zhuang Binyu. With my hands untied, I helplessly shrugged. Yes, yes, yes. The ones you called are heroes, and the ones I called are actors. Then let's all make a trip to the police station. Some people are just like that. They won't give up until they reach the Yellow River. I caught a glimpse of the director quietly slipping back into the crowd. I quickly shouted, "Director, are you rushing off to get dinner?" Zhuang Ning, the director, along with me roommates and the two police officers the director had mentioned, all got into the police car together. We were questioned separately. I explained the whole story from beginning to end and said that before this, I didn't even know her name. I slept in the lower berth and had never even seen what she looked like. The attendant who questioned me at the time can testify that I had earplugs in and slept the whole way until I got off the train. Seeing me come out of the interrogation room unharmed, Zhuang Ning immediately ran over, grabbed my hair, and said, "Did you bribe them?" He turned to the police and shouted, "Officer, I came to the police station with the determination to die. Are you just going to watch the criminal walk away like this? Just because he's a police academy student, you're going to shield him unconditionally?" That last sentence really upset everyone in the police station. I pushed her hand away. "How much longer are you going to keep Machina seen? Whoever committed a crime against you, someone must have seen it. Why can't you just properly report it and provide the information? You've been fixated on Met his whole time. Could someone be backing you from behind?" A female police officer also advised, "Ms. Zhang, we will bring the person who hurt you to justice. Please don't get agitated. Zhang Binyu is innocent. We've already confirmed this with the flight attendants." Despite their dutiful explanation, Zhang Ning simply covered her ears. She screamed, "I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The criminal is Zhang Binyu. None of you are listening to me. I'm telling the truth." Her frenzied appearance frightened everyone and they immediately called 120. I frowned. "Aren't you mentally ill or something? Which hospital did you run out of?" The female police officer was still trying to comfort her, but it was useless. It wasn't until a police officer brought someone in that she weakly collapsed into his arms. This man was the Beijing Circle Crown Prince who had forced her on the train so long. When enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. Dressed to the nines, he grinned lazily as he hugged Zhang Ning. "What's wrong? Don't be afraid, baby. Didn't I come here to help you get your revenge?" The two stood together, 10 years apart in age. Maybe beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Even though he was an old man, Zhang Ning still found him appealing. Su Long gave me a cold sidelong glance. I knew he had murderous intent. "Director Zhang, my girlfriend has suffered a huge grievance. Aren't you going to give me an explanation?" He raised an eyebrow, and the middle-aged man who had come in with him forced a flattering smile as he stood there with his belly out. "I'll explain right away. Why haven't you arrested him yet? You actually let the suspect identified by the victim get away. What's going on? Do you all not want to work here anymore?" He lashed out at his subordinates and even had them drag me away again. Such blatant flattery made the police officers' faces turn dark with anger. The two people who had been let out rushed forward. I struggled, but I was still handcuffed again. They were indeed police officers, but only auxiliary police, and they had only been on the job for 2 days. They were very adept at currying favor with the bureau chief. I concealed the hatred in my eyes and said to Su Long, "Who are you? This is outright bribery." I know he wouldn't care, but everyone present will be a witness that I was wrongly accused. Su Long raised his hand and patted my face. "Bribery." He leaned close to my ear. Su Long don't need that. Who told you to happen to be in that carriage? Just consider yourself unlucky. Su Long's family is rich. So Zhang Ning won't go to the police station to report him. He had no need to make me his scapegoat. The failure lay in the fact that, on that day, Su Long had not only forced her, but was also Su Weitian, the youngest daughter of the Su family in Kyoto. This was not something Su Long could get out of just by pulling a few strings. The Su family was even more powerful than the Su family. It was too dark, and he, blind as he was, had done something that could cost him his life. This matter was exposed after I died in my previous life. But I was already dead, and it was of no help to my past self. In this life, I'm going to hold tightly onto this lead. The first step is to get the task force involved. The second step is to make the Su family know. Make Su Long and even the entire Su family collapse completely. Why should a scumbag like this get to enjoy anything? He should stay buried in the mud forever. Too ashamed to even lift his head under everyone's condemnation. I'm going to shatter Jiang Ning's dream with me own hands. Humph, can't take it already. Didn't you claim to be so pure and innocent? Su Long doesn't hold it against you for ruining me, but I can't let it go. Jiang Ning was like a peacock with its tail spread, flaunting her awesomeness at every moment. Chief, we can't. His. One of the police officers scowled, help but urge. Once one spoke up, others followed. Everyone glared angrily at the two men holding me. After bringing me in, Guanku was called away. Otherwise, he would probably have been the first to leap out and hit the chief. The dormitory supervisor ran over, picked up the phone, and said, I've recorded your actions. If Shuangbin Ye doesn't walk out of the police station today, then I'll post this online and let everyone judge what's right and wrong. The director ignored him and directly had people take me to the detention room, refusing to let me go back. Just like in me previous life, I was fired because this director arrested me. He told the outside world that I was missing, but in reality, I was imprisoned here. He kept it hidden from everyone else. And it wasn't until things had become irreparable that the task force finally found me. I can't possibly force Jiang Ning. This is violent law enforcement. Aren't you afraid I'll go out and report you? The director took out some tape and sealed my mouth shut in one go. Take him away. This time I was a bit caught off guard. I hadn't expected Su Long to come so quickly. The Su family hadn't found him yet, and he had already exposed himself. That also left me somewhat at a disadvantage. The man pinning me down kicked me. Get in. Let's see who dares. Guanku kicked away the two people behind me. He was breathing heavily, clearly having rushed over in a hurry. His clothes were soaked with sweat. At this point, the director was somewhat intimidated. Guanku himself was a tough nut to crack, and no one could leave his presence unscathed. Jiang Ning, if you keep slandering him, I don't mind calling your parents here to see exactly what you're redoing. Jiang Ning was silent, said Guanku's one sentence, and fearfully lowered her head. Is this guilt? Su Long, still ignorant of how high the sky is and how deep the earth is, stepped forward and was about to slap Guanku. Guanku caught his hand and twisted it back to pin him down, making him cry out in pain. Su Long, isn't your father too free? Inside the police station, the long table was filled with people. Su Long's father and Jiang Ning's parents were all seated in front, facing his own son. Su Long's father kicked him right away. Although I knew this was just a show, I still secretly felt pleased. Serves you right. Meanwhile, Jiang Ning's mother slapped her. I walked out of the police station feeling refreshed, leaving them to be lectured by Guanku. Today happened to be a day off, so I rushed home by train. I finally saw my mom. This was still our first meeting in his life, as if we had been separated by a lifetime in just a few short years after my dad left. My mom had already developed white hair at her temples in order to support misschooling and give me the best possible conditions. I held back my tears and rushed over to hug her. Mom. Her voice was as stern as ever. You're a grown man already. A boy should stand tall and upright. Why are you still burrowing into my arms? My mother had always been very strict with me upbringing, especially under the influence of my father's profession. She repeatedly admonished me and instilled in me the idea that justice is everywhere, and that I should help others. It was precisely because of this that, on the train, fueled by a surge of passion and by my mother's teachings, I rushed forward and saved Jiang Ning. But my mother didn't know that some people are demons straight out of hell. The one I saved became the hand that pushed me into the abyss. My mother went to the kitchen to bring out my favorite dishes. Though she was tough in speech, she had never shortchanged me on anything. As we were eating, the television suddenly cut to a news report. Next, We are following Ms. Jiangning to the home of the person who hurt her. The scene shifted, and in the frame was the security guard at the entrance of my neighborhood. Yes, that's right. Zhuang Benya lives in our neighborhood. His father was a martyr and is a role model for us. The security guard kept praising my dad nonstop, completely failing to notice Jiangning's face turning livid. The reporter accompanying her looked equally awkward. The live stream was still going on when my mom suddenly said, "Zhuang Benya, someone has the same name as you, and they live in the same neighborhood Asus. What a coincidence." I tugged at the corners of my mouth, but I couldn't smile. Not at all. Not at all. It was entirely premeditated. Mom, there was no coincidence. The person she was talking about was me. Helplessly, I laid everything out in full. My mom was still the same as in my previous life. She trusted me completely. If I had really done something like that, I figured she would personally send me in my way to reunite with my dad. I also honestly confessed everything that happened at school. My mom immediately called someone to look into it. From Zhuang Ning's expression, it seemed like she wanted to come straight to my house. In my previous life, she drove my mother to death through the internet. In this life, she had no justification, so she could only rely on some low-end journalists to come to my house for an interview, deliberately stirring up suspicion. Zhuang Benya, get out here. You ruin me reputation. You think that if the police can't find evidence, you can get away with it. At my doorstep, her voice grew louder with every sentence. Before the door even opened, I could tell how lively it was outside. Benya, come out. In this day and age, you can't be a heartless man. Old Madame Wang, who had long been jealous of my family, helped shout at once. Many women empathized and came one after another to the front of my house. I took a deep breath and suddenly opened the door. The noise was a dull buzz. In my previous life, it was my school classmates, and in this life, it was the people from the neighborhood. Look at them. They call themselves a martyr's family, but I think they're just tasteless. Is his father really dead? But isn't he a police academy student? How could he? What's wrong with being a police academy student? A bad seed can hide his true nature. Braids can't screen out character. These words, like a curse, were raging wildly through my mind. That's right. Last life. That's why I ended up with nothing. I opened the door and gave Zhuang Ning a chance. Before I knew it, several people rushed out from somewhere and surrounded me directly. Zhuang Benya, you are suspected of involvement in a coercion case. Please come with us. It's the same routine again. Are they doing this because after I came home, he was isolated and helpless, making me easier to handle? Zhuang Ning, we made it clear at the police station back then. I never had any contact with you, and the train surveillance footage shows that very clearly. You say the police can't find any evidence, but I've been locked up again and again by people you sent. You're so powerful. Are you really afraid they won't find any evidence? My words were not as unconvincing as they had been in my previous life. When I mentioned that I had already been to the police station many times, someone finally stood on my side. It was the security guard. In anger, he waved his hand to block the newcomers. Are you doing this on purpose? His father was a martyr. He lost his life saving someone. Aren't you just breaking people's hearts by doing this? When danger comes someday, who's going to save you then? My mom stood silently behind me holding my dad's portrait. Some people shrank back in fear, and some no longer dared to keep their eyes fixed on me. In my previous life, everyone looked at me with that same disgusted expression. I was like garbage wherever I went. They would cover their noses and say I stink. They spoke without restraint, saying my dad had faked his death, just to get me extra points on the college entrance exam and the bereavement compensation. They gathered in a mob and went to the cemetery live streaming as they said they were going to dig my dad up out of the ground. How could my mom possibly stand that? She left a suicide note, ran to the cemetery and killed herself on the spot by crashing in front of my dad's grave. Noon dared to touch my dad's grave anymore. My mom proved her resolve with her death. Only then did I get a chancito catch my breath. I was locked inside, cut off from any news, still thinking about my mom every moment. By the time I got out again, I couldn't even find my mom's grave. Just thinking about this made me feel utterly exhausted. Who on earth did I offend? Toned up meeting someone like Jiang Ning, who was like a piece of chewing gum that I couldn't shake off no matter how hard he tried. During my detention, I wasn't allowed to eat or drink, and the questions they asked me every day never changed. Jiang Ning and Su Long were standing behind the glass. I was too slow. I still hadn't managed to send them all in. Old Lady Wang suddenly blurted out, "Who can guarantee that a martyr's son is any good? A weak woman would definitely only go to his door if she had no other choice." When Jiang Ning saw Old Lady Wang speaking up for her, she immediately grabbed her hand. "Exactly. He's got connections and realizing the fact that his father was a martyro do whatever he wants. Guys like him should be locked up. His mother must compensate my family. My parents raised me this far and I can't let people bully me. To put it bluntly, she just wanted my money. So greedy. One Su Long wasn't tenno. And now you want more benefits from me." I looked at Jiang Ning and held back the urge to stab her, then asked, "Do you really want justice? Or do you want back something that doesn't belong to you?" "Of course, justice," I continued. "So you don't even need compensation. You're so selfless. You'd definitely make sure the criminal rots in prison." Jiang Ning snorted coldly. "That won't let you off cheaply," I sneered. "Then bring out the evidence. If you don't have any evidence and still want to smear me online, I can call the police and have you arrested for disturbing public order and damaging my reputation. You just want money. It doesn't have to be me. Anyone would do. I'm just unlucky enough to have been in the same carriage as you." Jiang Ning didn't expect me to speak her mind so directly in front of Thelevestream. The fleeting guilt that flashed across her face was hidden in such a flustered, embarrassed way. She took out her phone. "Look, this is the evidence." I laughed. She had actually taken a photo of Muhen. I was looking for my compartment after getting on the train. "Since you want to catch the killer so badly, I'll grant your wish." As soon as he finished speaking, a group of people came over in a grand procession. "Hello. We are the Special Task Force, specially sent here to investigate the case of Jiang Ning being coerced. Since all the parties involved are here, come with us for a trip." Before I came back, I had specifically looked for Guan Ku. He attached great importance to this matter and submitted an application. And the timing just happened to be right. My mom called him, and he also said the Special Task Force would come over today. Jiang Ning was stunned. This time I had truly dragged her into this mess, and she would never be able to escape again. The Special Task Force was only there to observe, and I was taken into the interrogation room. In just these past few days, the interrogation room has practically become my home. This time, just like in my previous life, they kept repeating the same questions over and over. When I said I didn't know, they acted as if they hadn't heard me and kept questioning me. I finally gave in and kept insisting that before Jiang Ning came to me. I didn't even know what she looked like, just because she and I bought tickets for the same carriage. You can't convict me, right? I didn't even hear a sound in the middle of the night. My earplugs were stuffed in tightly from noon all the way until night. I was asked more than 100 times, from explaining everything in detail at the beginning to refusing to answer later on. The task force had always been there, but because of procedure, I knew this was a process I had to endure. But why should I be treated like this? These things should have been borne by Su Long. They began to soften their tone and persuade me. "Chuang Binia, your father was a martyr. If you tell us now, we'll handle it leniently. The consequences of coming forward voluntarily are very different from those of being found out by us. Think about your mother's outside right now, completely exhausted over you. Televestream has gone viral. The discussion online is snowballing, and your home is already completely blocked off. How ridiculous. You want me to confess by threatening me with my mother. But my mother is no weak woman. She has her own independent mind, and she would never want to drag Medon, let alone agree to me confessing because of this. The longer this case drags on, the better." The live stream had already been uploaded to the internet by then, and the Su family would soon come rushing over once they heard the news. At that point, would we still have to fear Su Long? Would we still have trouble finding evidence? In my previous life, I had passively taken the beating and ended up black and blue. This time, I would not just stand by and do nothing. I smiled. I'm not guilty. You should know who's behind her. You've been hounding me all this time. Watch out, or the roof may catch fire. When the task force came in, I was suddenly facing 6 people. Though I could feel cold sweat breaking out on me back, I still had confidence. I've already had someone notified the family. You probably don't know that there was more than one person looking for the train police at the time. At that moment, the figure flashed before my eyes. After being shaken awake, the first thing I saw was the attendant, and the second was Sui Wutian standing outside the door with a cold expression. What did you say? Why didn't you say something so important? One of the people who had been questioning me stood up and was about to talk over and lecture me. I looked toward the task force and said meaningfully, just because you don't know doesn't mean others don't know. The leader of the task force closed the notebook in his hand and stood up. Miss Su was the first to report the case, and Zhang Ning was the second. Miss Su is already outside. She wants to see you. My efforts were not in vain. The show has begun. Sui Wutian was brought here by Guan Ka. Su Long was not absent either. He was still wearing a smug smile, not knowing that he was about to face imprisonment. Sui Wutian took out his phone. Did you send this? It was a shot of me holding my ID card, and my voice came through the phone. I am real name report Su Long. He forced Zhang Ning and another girl. As far as I know, the attendant at the time had evidence, but due to the threats from the Su family, he didn't dare report it. In the previous life, Sui Wutian's older brother visited many people who had been present at the time. No one dared to speak up, even if they had evidence in hand. They were threatened by people arranged by Su Long. When I made their real name report, I released this video a long time ago. When Zhang Ning first came to me, someone anonymously sent this video to me email, but I didn't bring it out at time. I didn't dare take the risk. I was afraid that once I brought it out, no one would ever pay attention to how dark the Su family was again. One act of coercion can be easily resolved with money. What about the next time? Won't it go beyond that? Then, the person harmed could be his sister, or it could be his daughter. I don't want to let someone like this get away with it. Zhang Ning disappointed Mesomwhat, but my father told me to hold me bottom line. He is the red line I will never forget for the rest of my life. The video I reported came later, while Zhang Ning brought people to my house to live stream earlier. Things quickly spiraled out of control. This time, the one put on the public criticism stand was not me, but the real culprit. I stepped forward and handed the USB drive in my hand to Guan Ka. It was my mother who sent it for me. She is an excellent and independent person. She has always believed in me, unlike some people who use their own innocence to drag innocent people into the mess. Who knows? She might even repay kindness with ingratitude. I stared coldly at Zhang Ning. She was completely stunned. When my voice came through Su Yutian's phone, the two of them, she and Su Long, froze in place. The task force took out handcuffs. Su Long, you are suspected of involvement in 2 cases of coercion. Come with us. Zhang Ning, you are suspected of perjury. Student Zhuang's mother has already filed a lawsuit against you in court. Come with us. Guanku patted my head. Good kid. You really are your father's son. I smiled. Precisely because I am my father's son. I have always believed that light will break through the clouds. I waited for this day, though it took me a lifetime. I don't want anyone else to be like me. They may not have another life. Su Yutian carried out a dimensionality reduction strike on Su Long, no reconciliation. Take him to court to the bitter end. The Su family obtained evidence that the Su family had evaded taxes and filed a report against them in known fell swoop. In the chaos, the Su family's stock was shorted, and after bankruptcy, the Su family acquired it. They simply tore it down and rebuilt it into a landfill. Even if Su Long were released, his family would be ruined. His father couldn't take it and Jumpetto his death. He had nothing left. Zhang Ning's parents came to me, hoping I would let her off this once. The moment they opened their mouths, they said, "You're a boy. Just endure this little thing and it'll pass." Zhang Ning was just confused for a moment. Why did you have to take things so far? Just endure it and it'll pass. I shot back. Then you endure it. Zhang Ning will come out. Everything will pass. There was no need to keep talking to people like that. weren't even on the same wavelength. Many years later, I graduated and successfully became Guan Ku's disciple. Only then did I learn that Su Long had moved into Zhang Ning's home. He thought Zhang Ning had ruined him, and he refused to leave. How Zhang Ning treated him back then. He clung to her just like that. I guess it's just dogs biting dogs. Everyone gets a mouthful of fur. My mom is enjoying her later years in peace, often going to my dad's grave to say bad things about me. Everything has changed. Everything has gotten better.